And in the second fight of the night here, we got Jake Hadley taking on Carlos Candelario. This is going to be in the men's flyweight division. And both these fighters are 0-1 so far in the UFC. Neither guy had an easy fight. Jake Hadley went in there with Alan Nascimento, who's a training partner of Charles Oliveira, who's a Brazilian submission artist. Carlos Candelario, he had to face off with Japanese sensation Tatsuro Taira. And Hadley was a pretty big favorite in his first fight. He's a pretty big favorite in this fight. So the odds makers like him. They see him as a good prospect. But I think this is a more important fight for Candelario. If you ask me, Candelario, he's coming off 2 losses in a row, not just one. He has not won a fight in over a year. He's 31 years old, so he's not young for flyweight. And he's significantly older than his opponent. Hadley, he has more buzz. He's coming out of England. He's only 26. But nonetheless, both these guys want to avoid being 0-2 in the UFC at all costs. So I think it's going to be a fun fight. And both these guys are familiar with the Apex. They both came through the Contender Series. They had their first fights in the Apex as well. And Jake Hadley is a grappler. He trains at a Team Renegade in England. And that's a gym that's known for having good wrestlers and grapplers. And he's going to be looking to use Candelario's pressure on the feet against him, duck under, hit the doubles. On top, he has really good top pressure, uses that to make fighters give their backs. And when he can get the back, he has a lot of real good rear naked choke finishes. His last fight and other fights, he has allowed guys to get deep on submissions when he was in their full guards and seems to be real calm and composed and not really be too worried about getting submitted. And he eventually uses his opponent's submission attempts to pass. But in his last fight with Nascimento, that kind of costed him because Nascimento was high level enough to sweep the position. And Hadley, even though he's a high level grappler, most of the time he feels even if he ends up on bottom, he has faith to get back on top. He wasn't able to do that against Alan Nascimento and got grinded out. Another thing that that Jake Hadley does do is he stands very tall because he doesn't have the fear of being taken down. And off of his back, he is very aggressive. I mean, you'll go for omoplatas, go-go platas, super flexible guy. And yeah, I mean, he definitely has a threat everywhere. But we saw Nascimento, if you could take him down and you could stuff those submissions, keep him on his back, which I don't think is going to be an easy thing to do, then you can beat him. Because on the feet, Hadley, he's okay, but he does overextend. He stands tall. He has good 1-2s, both to the body and the head, and he'll throw some fast kicks. His stance kind of reminds you of George Masvidal, how he could, use it to whip those kicks out there and be real fast. He isn't worried about getting taken down, but defensively, he doesn't move his head. He's very hittable. He doesn't check kicks. And still developing as a striker. He doesn't have bad striking. I think he has potential on the feet, but just has to keep polishing it up. And most fighters, Hadley is going to be able to out-grapple, though, and his pressure, his 1-2s, and length is going to be able to, get him in those positions to get the takedowns. And Nascimento had the luxury of being able to take down Hadley because he had the faith in jiu-jitsu. I don't really know if Candelario is going to have that same confidence. And Carlos Candelario, he's a heavy-handed wrestler. I'm curious to see how he plays out in this fight because I don't know if he's going to have the confidence to want to hit takedowns on someone like Hadley. He has good sweeps and submissions, but we did see against Tatsuro Taira, Candelario was able to be effective when he got in the top position, and that could be something that he sees and say, okay, I'm going to go in here, get takedowns, and try to control from top. But you watch this fight in the Contender Series, he got several takedowns, but didn't really do much with the top position. He allowed his opponent on bottom to do more, allowed his opponent to stand up from bottom several times, and I think that Hadley will be more active off of his back than Candelario will be on top. So Candelario is a dog. I think he's going to want to keep it on the feet, try to pressure, get Jake Hadley tired, and land some big bombs. But I feel like Hadley is the faster guy, a little bit more technical with the striking as well. Candelario's best chance to win, I think, is to pressure, try to wear on Hadley by throwing big punches, and maybe steal rounds with late takedowns, but don't try to give Hadley a lot of time to work when he does go to the ground. But Candelario, I think if he can get on top of control, he will have a much better chance to win. I just don't know if that's a viable game plan for him. And one thing about Candelario is he does give his back, and Hadley has a tendency to take the back, and Candelario can be taken down as well as takedown defense as an elite. So if Hadley can get on top, I think he could dominate there. Cardio-wise, I think both guys have great cardio. I don't really think either guy has much of an advantage. I think Hadley should probably bounce back in this fight. He's going to have the wrestling edge. I think he can time takedowns. I think that he is more athletic, younger. Candelario's a tough guy. He's going to be hard to hold down and submit, evident of his fight with Tatsuro Taira, but I don't think he has enough offensive skill set to win here. Even if he hits takedowns, I don't see him being able to be successful on top and be effective. I think Hadley's going to be pressured forward and being faster on the feet as well. And Hadley is very dangerous when you take the back. So I think a submission is potentially there. But Candelario has proven he's very hard to finish. He's never been finished in his career. That's leads me to believe it's probably going to be a decision victory for Hadley. So I'm going to say Hadley wins via decision in this one over Carlos Candelario as a pretty big favorite here.